Hi, I'm Randy Nichols, Chair of Communications Department at Limestone College. I teach a couple of classes, Digital Literacies and Narratives Across Communication, that connect with my interest in Alfred Hitchcock as an innovator in technology, an innovator in a new medium, and then an innovator in the new technological advances within that medium. I just want to share some quick examples of how I see Hitchcock as a technological innovator. Let's begin with the silent movies. Number one, The Lodger. Hitchcock wants the audience to hear the nervous pacing of the lodger upstairs, but he doesn't have sound. He would have had sound in radio, he would have had sound on stage. And so what does he do? He visually shows us the sound by putting a glass floor or glass ceiling, depending on which side you're on, so we can see the nervous pacing of the lodger and, in a way, hear where there is no sound. Second innovation is when sound is added, Hitchcock doesn't call attention to the talkies as an innovation themselves, but rather he uses it to bring us into the mind of the character. We remember the scene from our course, the nattering, chattering customer who goes on and on, but her speech devolves into just a mumble except for the one word that our character is preoccupied with. Knife, knife, knife. It pierces through, and it lets us know what she would have heard from her point of view.
I mean, any knife. Knife.
Number three, let me talk about Hitchcock's use of the tools of the medium itself and how he experimented with them. Of course, the POV shot, very famous, that Hitchcock gives us a glimpse into what the character is seeing from his point of view from time to time. The zoom shot, where he takes away the democracy of the stage and tells us what we're going to focus on, and there he communicates his story by directing our attention. But then that one really cool shot in Vertigo, and Hitchcock tells the story that he was dizzy at a party, and he felt the room falling away from him. So second unit cameraman Erman Roberts is credited with building this rig where he both dollies out but zooms in at the same time. It's the Vertigo shot, famous shot, been used by a lot of people since. Let me talk about sound for a moment, other than talkies, and I believe Hitchcock's a great innovator in sound. In fact, by the time we get to Vertigo, Bernard Herrmann's score is maybe so scarily close to perfect that I don't want to think about anything better. But then in The Birds, he gets rid of sound, music altogether, but keeps sound through the electroacoustic trotonium. So we end up with a score that is just squawking, squeaking, scratching birds. And Bernard Herrmann gets credit on that, but I'd sure love to see a sheet music for that movie. Let me talk about Hitchcock's innovation in writing. The kerfuffle between Raymond Chandler and Hitchcock is kind of well known. Raymond Chandler's name still stays on the credits for Strangers on a Train. But there's something to be shown here, that writing for a book, which is a very private matter, you sit and you can reread and flip back and forth and pause, is unlike writing for a film, which is a public viewing in the dark with a group of people, and it's synchronous. Until the invention of the VCR, there is no pausing or running back. You watch it as it goes. So the writing for the medium has to be different than the writing for a book. Let me talk about Hitchcock's innovation for the bigger screen. When I saw Strangers on the Train, one of my favorite films, I understood why it was an Academy Award-winning film for cinematography. It is awesome. But then, in our course, the next film I popped on to watch was Vertigo, and it's in VistaVision. And now the canvas changes. It changes aspect. There's a whole lot more real estate for Hitchcock to work with in his composition. And so when we get to films like Rear Window or North by Northwest, we see Hitchcock is not just shooting the same way he would have shot for a 4:3 aspect like Strangers on a Train or our old TVs or our old computer monitors, but he's shooting in a widescreen 16:9 for the new VistaVision. So he uses that to great effect. But then also Hitchcock's really adaptable to go back down to a smaller screen. I mean, really, really smaller screen, the TV. In the late 50s, he has this great series called Alfred Hitchcock Presents. He directs 17 or 18 of these. The first one he directs, called Revenge, is a very dark compelling drama, and I mean dark in kind of the way Secret Agent was dark for us. And you have to realize this is years before Rod Serling's Twilight Zone premieres. He runs another show called Suspicion at the same time. So I guess on NBC and CBS, he's executive producer of Suspicion. But anyway, he's taking advantage of the medium of the smaller screen. And then I'm thinking about how he's an innovator on the 3D screen. 3D was a short-lived kind of fad, but I was fortunate to be able to see some of Dial M for Murder in 3D when there was the Hitchcock exhibit at Universal Studios Florida. And he doesn't do the gimmicky thing where, hey, look, I'm going to do that, here's a knife. But rather what he does is he gives us back something we would have had if we were watching a stage show. He gives us back depth of field. It's a very interesting and subtle use of an innovation that didn't stay around long. Let me talk about how he puts all these together to build kind of a grammar. We call it the Hitchcock Touch. From staircases to POV to panning. All these things work together to kind of build a set of rules of composition Hitchcock used to make some of the great masterpieces of film. And these grammars have been the building blocks, the foundation for many other directors since. Thank you for watching my examples of how I consider Hitchcock to be a technological innovator.